the dominant society, they'll try to do something and then they'll try to rewrite history. And when we tell people about certain things, we're usually on the money. Listen, for years, I've told people about the 1960s. See, the dominant society overtly, they try to rewrite the 1960s by making it seem like there was a bunch of black people walking around, being nonviolent and getting beat up. And they tried to give you the impression that black people getting beat up, that made the dominant white society say, hey, we need to give them some civil rights. They just letting us beat up on them so much. Let's do the moral thing and give them some reparations or give them some civil rights. And that's the furthest thing from the truth. That is the furthest thing from the truth. It did not happen like that. And the white supremacists know this. The white supremacists, the real hardcore ones, they know the truth. Family, in the movie American Maroon, and y'all heard me many times, I have told you guys, we were not sitting around getting beat up like you think we were in the 1960s. We were putting in work, and we brought it to that ass, and they felt like they took an L because behind closed doors, the white supremacists talk about how they took an L in the 60s. There was a Twitter space these white supremacists had the other day. I want y'all to listen to what they said about the 1960s, because they're still upset about the 1960s, because privately, when they're among each other, they tell the truth. They know they took an L in the 1960s. They're still salty about it now. I want y'all to hear a conversation that was on the Twitter space in one of these white supremacist spaces when they're among their peers talking, because they're low-key talking about targeting black folks to get some kind of revenge. But listen to this. Hold on.
But they understood that you have to take care of your own. You have to be willing to kill or at least do something physically for your own. I understand we're now in a later century and it's maybe more of an information war, but physical presence means something quite heavily, especially in American politics, when you see these blacks burned down. I mean, they did it in the 60s. They did it, every race riot ever, and everyone capitulates to them. Even the racist people, back in the day capitulated because they were just burning, killing, looting, and raping.
Now, nobody was raping nobody. Okay, that's his fantasy. They're throwing that in. But yeah, it was some burning and some offing going on. Absolutely it was. He's telling the truth about that. He had to throw the rape in there. That's his own fantasy. But yeah, brothers were putting in work and they know it.
Everything. And the only way to make them stop was to give them what they wanted.
Right. They felt like they took an L.
Right? Even segregation. The way segregation ended wasn't because there was a vote on it.
Right. See, they're telling the truth among each other.
It was because they nationalized the guard and used at gunpoint with bayonets fixed on whites, forcibly making them desegregate. If you believe there's a passive, kind, happy way to end all of this against people who fucking rape and murder.
Okay, so he's all that rape stuff. I am not going to even entertain that. But listen, these folks know what really went down. They know what they tell the truth behind closed doors. The 60s was an L for them. The 60s wasn't, it was nobody getting raped, nobody raping nobody. But we were putting in work. I'm telling people, yeah. In the 1960s, the reason why those civil rights acts were passed because the foundational black Americans were in these streets bringing it to that ass, forcing them to do it, and they felt like they took an L. This is why I keep telling you, man, the brothers and sisters back then, because we didn't have the same dead weight we have now. We don't have a bunch of zaddy worshiping tethers. We didn't have that back then. So it was easy for us to get on code back then. Understand the civil rights movement, boy. We had some real riders back then. We had some big riders back then, man. We had some thorough brothers and sisters back then. We got to be very real about that. right after the whole thing with Emmett Till, we really got on code. We said enough is enough. See, they were more on code back then than we are now. See, we're just now getting back on code, and the reason why we're getting back on code is because we're learning how to clip off that dead weight now. Some of the that loose tether weight that's unuseful to us. But family, starting with Emmett Till, that's when we said enough is enough.